Hello, this is Ian McKay. Thank you for joining me this evening to talk about The Black Stallion, produced by Metro Goldwyn Mayer Studios in 1979, directed by Carol Ballard, and starring Kelly Reno, Terry Garr, Clarence Muse, Hoyt Axton, Michael Higgins, and Mickey Rooney. Now, before getting into the movie, I'd like to say that I'm going to keep this commentary pretty simple. I'm just going to state my observations without a lot of explanation, and you can decide whether or not I'm right or you agree with me or not. My last commentary on Gravity was quite detailed. This one I'm going to keep it a lot more simple. To put it in a single word, this movie is basically a movie about race, black and white, ethnicity, right? And I think you'll see that by the end of this commentary if you haven't seen it already. Before going into that, it is good just to point out that so many movies try to shape your subconscious without you being aware of it. That is, if they can alter the way you see the world without you realizing that altering is taking place, well, they've won the day through that particular movie. So this movie is trying to do that. It's trying to alter your subconscious, your presuppositions about life and about race in particular. And so let's start with that in mind. The opening scene, they give you the year is 1946 off the coast of North Africa. And of course that's significant, right? They could have been anywhere else in the world, but they're off the coast of North Africa, where African men are from. And that's put up there in passing, and it's never referenced again, but it's put up there for you to see it. Now on the boat, one of the more significant scenes on the boat is when the Middle Eastern men, wherever they're from, they're wearing the turbans, and they're whipping the horse. They have the horse tied down, and they're whipping him. And of course, this is meant to be seen as bad. Now, the point here is that these men are foreigners. They're not Americans. They're not Englishmen. They're not Europeans of any kind. They're foreigners, right? Their customs are different than our customs. But whipping a horse, tying a horse down, is a masculine thing to do. It's typically how you break a horse, using methods of force in that manner. But what the director does here is puts together the masculine temperament of breaking a horse and pairs it with the foreign, that is foreign from the English, American, or European way, by the appearance of these men. So she pairs the masculine with the foreign, and that way it's easy for you to jettison that masculine approach, right? So this is making way for a feminine approach, or for the female to enter in. And the next scene of significance is they're playing cards, and there's a friar who's playing cards with them. And of course, this is meant to be scandalous, right? The churchman is an apparent hypocrite who he's not even drinking liquor, he's drinking milk, and he can't even keep his milk down, right? He dribbles his milk down his chin. So he's a weak man, he's a hypocrite, he's a friar, he's a Christian, right? You're supposed to see all that. And that really has nothing to do with the rest of the story. That's just kind of a plug along the way, aimed at Christianity. So the boy, his method of coaxing the horse, the black horse, is just sugar cubes, right? And this, when I saw this just brings to mind Mary Poppins. A spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, right? So contrary to what the men were doing and using a whip and ropes to break the horse, to control the horse, the boy is going to coax the horse with sugar, a very feminine thing to do. So the horse decides what's going to happen. The boy is not demanding the horse. Everything happens on the horse's terms, right? So, and I didn't say this yet, but the black horse, the black stallion, represents the African, the black man. Okay, I don't think I said that yet, but that's the main symbolism throughout the book, or throughout the movie rather. Okay, so during the poker game, I can't figure out if the father, in getting the little horse trinket, if that is a symbol of someone actually, the owner of the horse actually lost the horse in that game, and the father of this young boy now owns the horse through a poker game. I don't know. It's not terribly important either way on that. But when the father is giving this little trinket of a horse to the boy, he says a couple things that are important. And of course, the father starts telling him the story about Alexander the Great and how he broke Bucephalus. The famous story about Alexander the Great riding this horse and then going and conquering the world. But the father, when he's telling this story, of course he looks like a joker. The boy doesn't take him seriously, which is contrasted to the tone in which the boy communicates with the black man later on in the movie, right? The boy takes him seriously. The boy takes his own father not seriously. And you really can't blame the boy, going from how the director presents the father in this scene. But at any rate, the father makes an important statement here. He says, "You grab hold of that long black mane." And this seems insignificant if you're not aware of where the movie is going and finally ends up. But the long black mane, that's going to come up again and again. The boy holding on to the black mane, even so far as towards the end, he clenches the black mane, and Henry has to cut the mane loose with a knife, and the mane is still in the boy's hand, right? So that's an imagery of the whites embracing the African or the black. Okay, and so another important thing happens in this conversation between the father and his boy, or the father and his son, is the father makes eye contact with the camera, with you, the audience, and he says, "Here, I want you to have this," and he gives you the horse, right? He gives you the black horse. He gives you the African man, the black man. And of course, all this is just a story about a horse, right? That's the pretense of this whole story. It's just about a horse and a boy coming of age, but it's much more than that. Okay, so then we have the storm in which the boat sinks, and the white father is taken out of the picture, so we can move on with the story. During the ship sinking, again, the foreigner, the Middle Eastern man with the turban, cuts the life jacket off the boy. And that's just meant to put distaste in your mouth for that Arab man, that foreigner, so that you can more easily also reject his masculinity, right? That's why that's there. All right, and then after that, the horse is thrown into the sea, or he jumps into the sea, and the boy ends up in the sea. So the horse and the boy are in the same predicament together. They're thrown in together, right? The white boy with the black, or the black horse, the black stallion, who is later on referred to exclusively as the black. So the black and the white boy are thrown into the sea together. They're in the same predicament together. So the name of the ship is the Drake. I thought a little bit about this, about what it might mean, and there's probably a meaning to it, but I didn't want to research it. Nothing comes to my mind, so I don't have anything to say on that. So when the boy comes up on the shore, the first thing we see is the knife, right? So a knife for a boy is usually a coming of age thing, right? You're transitioning from boyhood to manhood. And the little girl afterwards in the poem, right, she even says this, that he doesn't play with toys anymore. He has a horse. He doesn't play with toys. So he's no longer a child, right? But we see that the father gave him this knife on the boat, and now it's the first thing you see on the shore. And again, you see the knife again when Henry cuts the mane loose with the boy gripping the mane in his hand. But here we see it on the seashore. And it's with this knife that the boy cuts the black loose, right? The black horse is tangled up in ropes in the rocks, and the boy goes over there and liberates the horse, frees the horse, right? And also, if you notice, when the boy first comes out of the sea, he's also entangled with ropes. So he has a restriction on him. He frees the horse, right? So in freeing the horse, he's in a sense freeing himself. And then after this, you have a couple of shots of just grieving, right? Just the natural progression of the story. The boy's grieving the loss of his father, and just the predicament that he's in, stranded on this island. And then we have the first rain with tears, right? So later on in the movie, you'll see a scene where it's raining outside, and the black man is sad, and the horse is sad, and the boy is asking the black man, why is the horse sad, right? And they talk about being sad. Anyway, the boy is identifying in that, right? He's sitting in the rain, he's crying. I know tears and rain go hand in hand in cinema and storytelling quite often, and so that fits in nicely with that, right? And so it allows the parallel between the white boy and the black man through the horse to be even more subtle, because it's such a common image we see in the movies. Alright, so then we see the boy with his shirt off, and he's cold, it's raining, he's still in the grieving process. And I ask myself, why take the shirt off the boy? It doesn't make sense. He's obviously cold, unless a wet shirt makes you colder in the rain, I don't know. But my thought on this is that it allows the contrast between the boy's white skin up against the black horse to be all the more stark. And I think that's simply the reason for that. When the boy awakens, there's I guess it's a sea urchin of some kind, of spiny little creature, a black creature. But that's put there right in front of the boy as an image to bring to mind your imagination the imagery of an African man's hair. Right, and this is even referenced with the name of the horse, the white horse that the black man has. His name is Napoleon, but conveniently is called Nappy for the whole rest of the movie after the first introduction as Napoleon. So again, the Nappy is a reference to the hair, and that's meant to be there when the boy's gripping the horse's mane, right? In the race, its first introduction is really here with this black urchin creature going in front of the boy's face. And you have the contrast of the black against the white, with the black sea urchin against the boy's white face. So the boy attempts to get some fish to eat, and it's a failed attempt. And there's really no reason for the failed attempt, aside from the fact that allows the boy to eat seaweed instead of fish, right? So this is a rite of passage scene from not just this particular scene, but this whole little episode in the movie in the beginning. The boy going from boyhood to, quote, manhood, right? But in doing so, we've already seen with the sugar cubes, the coaxing, he's going about it in a feminine way, right? So he's not going to kill the fish. He's not going to be a successful hunter. He's going to eat seaweed, but not just eat seaweed, he's going to identify with the horse in doing that. So he's becoming like the horse, right? Because you could have had him, the director could have had him catch a fish. But she doesn't want that. She wants the boy to be identified with the horse, right? The boy is becoming like the horse. The boy is not becoming a man. He's becoming like the horse, and in doing so, he's pursuing a feminine course to do that, right? First with the sugar cubes, now the failed fisherman or hunter, and we'll see a little more of this later on in this opening episode. So in this, the boy follows the horse tracks along the beach, right? That is, the boy is following the black. The white boy is following the black along the beach, right? And all this seems very incidental until you get to the hypothesis or the thesis of the movie, and then it all becomes quite clear what's going on. But the boy is following the horse. After this, we have the scene with the cobra. The boy's sleeping. The cobra is there to greet him when he wakes up. And really, the sole purpose for this scene is just to personify the black horse, right? To infuse virtue, good character into the horse, right? So we know we're beginning to see the horse more and more human in a human way, and less as just a horse, right? We're beginning to interpret the horse properly as an allegory for the black man, for the African man. And the race isn't there yet explicitly, but the idea of the humanization of the horse, because the horse tramples the cobra, saves the boy's life. So the director's putting character or virtue into the horse. So at the end of this series, this little episode, you see the horse up on the precipice above the boy. That is, the black is raised up above the boy, the white boy, in virtue and whatnot. And it makes for a nice cinematography scene, but that's not really the point. Alright, so the boy starts a fire, things are starting to look up. I don't think there's a real significant allegory or image in the fire, aside from things are getting better, our hopes are higher. But we see that the boy He has his shirt off again for that white-black contrast. He now feeds the horse. Now the horse chases the boy, right? So again, the boy is in the passive position. The horse is in the active position, right? The horse was following the horse, not chasing it, following its tracks. And now the horse is chasing the boy. Not following the boy, but pursuing him. So in this process, the boy is apparently taming the horse, but is the horse really taming the boy? And this is referenced later on in the movie when the black man actually says, "Let that horse stay wild," right? So the boy is submitting to the horse here. And we really see this when the music changes. The music sounds kind of romantic, and the boy and the horse are viewed in the water with just their feet. And I call that the dancing scene, right? So the horse is taming the boy, or the boy is taming the horse, but again in a feminine way, not in a masculine way, right? Because masculinity is a foreign element that we've already discarded. And so now the boy is coaxing the horse and submitting himself to the horse's preference. And we see that through this dancing scene. And then the boy grabs hold of that black mane and gets on the horse. And then, of course, the music. We have the victory tune when the boy gets on the horse. And he falls down a couple times. But at any rate, the boy has conformed himself to the horse, and that's how he gets on the horse. He doesn't master the horse or dominate the horse. He conforms himself to the horse. All right, so when the men come in the boat to get, well, not to get the boy, they discover him. And they weren't expecting that. But you see the boat from beneath, right? So your suspicion is allowed to rise towards these men, right? And this happens 2 more times in this movie. When the boy's in the barn and Henry comes into the barn. We don't see Henry, we just hear him coming, right? So we're suspicious of him. And then again, when the men are in their cars out at the track at night, to see if to watch the horse run, time the horse to see if they really want to race it. And again, our suspicions are allowed to rise towards these men. All of them are white men, of course. And of course, the men view the horse, the black, with suspicion at first, but then eventually they see the lights and they bring the horse on board, and the music shifts and becomes happy music because they made the right choice. They no longer are prejudiced against the black horse. They're now good men because they've taken the horse on board, right? All right, so he's back home, and apparently a classmate of his is giving an honorary, reciting a poem for him that she has written. And the little girl, the white girl, she says something along the lines of a black horse, a beast. She refers to the horse as a beast. And then she says they slept on the beach and they played in the sea. And now the boy doesn't play with toys anymore. So he's come of age, right? But again, he's done this by jettisoning the masculine and becoming feminine with the sugar cubes and the dancing and conforming himself to the horse and not forcing the horse to conform to him, right? So now he's a man, a new man, because he's conformed to the black. And shortly after this, we see a woman who looks askance at the horse, the black horse, and we know it's a good horse because he saved the boy's life. He killed the cobra, he saved him from the sea. He's a good horse. And this woman, apparently, she doesn't like the horse just because the horse is black. But that happens very quickly in passing. But you see a lot of that throughout the movie, just quick passing things that aren't even really acknowledged. All right, so the boy and his mother, they have dinner together for the first time. The mother's very thankful and very glad to have her son back. But the boy wants to sleep outside with the horse, which is a boy thing to do. What kid doesn't want to sleep outside with a horse? So that's all good and natural. The key here is that the mother goes outside and she has a conversation with the horse, right? The white mother talking to the black stallion. She says, "Thank you." And she says, "You're a good horse," right? And then she says, "You're kind of pretty. You're kind of a pretty horse," right? And that is to say that there was suspicion in her mind that he wasn't a good horse. He wasn't a pretty horse. But she's changing her mind, right? So her son has conformed to the horse, and now she's conforming to the horse as well, right? You think about it, it's a kind of an odd thing to say to a horse, "You're kind of a pretty horse." That is to say, you didn't think so earlier until the horse proved himself to you. And that's just an absurd way of thinking about animals. But the point is the horse is not an animal. He's an allegory for the black man, the African in this movie. And that's what the mother is acknowledging. You're kind of a pretty horse. In the morning, the white man comes in. He's startled by the horse. The other people throughout the community, they don't understand the horse. They're upset with him, right? They're afraid of him. The boy follows after the horse again, right? The boy is chasing after the horse, trying to catch him. Now, during this scene, there's a significant thing that happens here. We see the horse runs by a couple of bums. Then he runs by some golfers. And then what's really important is he runs by an industrial complex. And of course, this is meant to be seen as ugly, right? Smokestacks, machinery. It's ugly. And the horse runs by that. And then night falls, and the boy still doesn't have his horse. So when the sun comes up, the black man is the only one who knows and understands the boy. He's the only one who's actually compassionate to the boy and doesn't lash out at him. And he asks him, "You lost a black horse," right? And this is where we get the introduction to the white horse, Napoleon, or better known as Nappy. So interesting enough, the black man has the white horse bridled. The black man does not steer the white horse by the mane. The black man steers the white horse naturally with a bridle, right? A man dominating the horse. But when he talks to Napoleon, Nappy, he asks Napoleon if he's seen a stallion. So there's reference made to the horse's gender here, male or masculine, or a man, right? So you don't have just a black horse, you don't have just a black person, you have a black man in the allegory of the black horse. And that's set up in contrast or paralleled with the white horse, which is going to be representative of the mother, and I'll show that later on. Okay, so the black man gives the boy directions to find the horse at the farm, where the green grass grows, basically. Now the barn is spooky. There's birds. There's an owl, black cat. And again, like when the horse and the boy were thrown into the sea together, the horse and the boy they fall through that hole in the ground, in the floor, and they're in the same predicament together. And then on top of that, again, we have the suspicion of the men in the boat. You saw them from beneath. You didn't see them, so you were suspicious of them. And now we hear Henry coming. We don't know his name yet, but we hear someone coming, and we don't see him. So we're allowed to be suspicious of him. And even after we see him, he's quite mean to the boy. Now, Henry was in the midst of shaving, so he has white shaving cream on his face. I would parallel that with the black man's white beard, right? It's not an exact science here. It's just to get your mind moving in that particular direction, right? Where you're crossing back and forth between the black and the white with parallels, allegory here. I don't think there's a deep significance between Henry and the black man. The point is that they want you to make the connection through aesthetics, through colors, through images, through words like nappy, for example. And so Henry, he has shaving cream on his face, which looks a lot like the black man's white beard. And then he says to the boy, "You're lucky that I got him before the police did," right? Which is, what, are the police going to come and arrest the horse and put handcuffs on him? No, the point there is to just say that the law is after the black man, right? The law is out to get him, and we're going to save him. All right, so the boy, he cleans up the stall. His horse is going to stay there. And then his mother comes to pick him up, right? His white mother comes to pick up the boy in her car. And again, this is where you're supposed to make the connection back to that industrial complex, right? We have the automobile and the industrial complex being paralleled, right? So the white woman is driving the automobile, which won't start. Now, why put that in there? Except to have a negative commentary on white industry or white culture. However, when they drive away, they cross paths with the black man who is driving Nappy, the white horse, quite successfully without breaking down, right? So the white mother, the white woman, going past with the black man driving a white horse, which is meant to be an allegory for white, in particular the white woman, the feminine, which is being accentuated in this movie, to the loss of the masculine, right? And really, the black man is really the only one who maintains the masculine because he still steers his horse with a bridle. And then shortly thereafter, we see the white horse and the black horse being stalled together. So that is to say, the black man with the white woman, right? And that parallel was made with the car breaking down or not starting with the white woman driving it, and then crisscrossing paths with the black man driving the white horse. And so that concludes with the white horse now being put in the same stall with the black stallion. So here we get the first introduction to the idea of racing the horse, and the boys just rummaging through some old trophies, see some old pictures. So we now learn more about Henry and what he's about. And now here Henry is playing cards by himself. Second scene with cards. Not really significant that we're dealing with cards 2 times, but what is significant is what Henry says here, and he says, "Too much red." Now if you think about that line fits nowhere in the movie. It's completely random. Doesn't add anything to the movie, unless you already understand that the movie is about race. It's a racial movie, right? So if you have too much red, well, there are only 2 colors for cards. The implication is that we need more black, right? Which is represented by the black man there and the black stallion, or the black and the black. So we have too much red, we need more black. And then we have this conversation about the black being fast, but doesn't matter because he doesn't have papers. So we have this idea he's a virtuous horse, but no one cares because he doesn't subscribe to this artificial rule of having papers, right? So we know the horse is good-natured, has a good heart, is a virtuous horse, right? Who kills cobras and saves the lives of little boys. But he's still worthless because he doesn't have papers, because he's not white, right? Yeah, so the black is fast, but it doesn't matter that he's a good person because he's not white, he doesn't have papers, he's not like the other horses. All right, and then here the horse doesn't like the idea of not being wild, doesn't like the idea of a saddle. And we've got happy music playing there. And then they go and watch a movie. And this struck me as just so obvious it was funny. If you look at the marquee above the theater that they go into, one of the movies is The Jungle Princess. Okay, I mean, I could almost rest my case on this movie with that. The Jungle Princess. Yeah, you have the white mother in the story being paired with the black man. The jungle's Africa, right? It just, I don't know, it struck me as funny because it's so obvious. And then there's talk about the black and the gray racing, and it's going to be the race of the century. And of course, gray is just a euphemism, another word for white, right? So the black and the white, the race of the century. And of course, that's a convenient pun, right? The race, or the race, right? Race, racial. It's convenient. I don't know if it's deliberate, but it's convenient. All right, and then we have Henry coaching the boy on how to ride the black, right? And the boy's kind of bouncing up and down on the saddle. And Henry says, no, no, no. You follow the rhythm of the horse. Which, of course, is natural. If you're going to learn to ride, that's what you do. You follow the rhythm of the horse. But the point is that you conform to the black. You don't expect him to conform to you. That's the point, right? So we know the thesis of this movie is that we need more black, right? Henry just said that with his cards. We have too much red. We need more black. So when you see the scene, the boy in the saddle, he's bouncing up and down. That's wrong. He's trying to dominate the horse. He's trying to dominate the black, keep him down. You gotta let the black stay wild, and so you follow his rhythm, or you conform to him. And then they practice in the rain to give you the imagery of the black man staring out into the rain, right? To parallel the boy and the black man again. All right, and then we have this whole speech of Henry in the pickup truck. I think it's a pickup truck, telling the boy that this is a secret. We can't tell anyone, right? And the idea here is that people are hateful. The horse doesn't have any papers. We know he's a good horse. He's a fast horse, but he doesn't have papers, so he's worthless. And we got to keep it a secret because people are hateful, and people don't like black horses, right? And of course, the horse is not the point. It's a commentary on race here, right? People are just naturally hateful, so we got to keep it a secret because we're good and other people are not. We understand the truth, but the other people don't, so we got to keep it to ourselves. And so he has this conversation with the boy, and then they go by the gatekeeper, who doesn't know what they're doing. Oh, what an evil man, right? Anyway, they drive past him. He doesn't have a clue what's going on, and the secret is kept. Okay, so they're at the track now, and some interesting things happen here. The boy drops the reins, right? And then there's the comment that's too much horse for the boy. So he gets the reins back in his hands, but he still can't control the horse because it's too much, right? So how do they get the horse under control? They send White Nappy out there, right? And the black horse chases Nappy down and comes to a stop along with the white, right? So the black follows the white, and that's how they get the black under control. Is with the white woman, right? Anyway, and you have that imagery in ancient mythology oftentimes where a wild man is subdued by a woman. So you have that same thing going on here. The black stallion is subdued by the white bridled horse, right? And of course, bridle is where we get the word bride from. But at any rate, that's what's happening here. The black man is being subdued by catching the white woman. All right, so at this point, you're just following the story as just a natural story, coming of age, riding a horse, winning a race, right? And so you like the horse. The horse is a good horse. The horse is virtuous. And then they have this person come along and say, that's a monster. No class, no papers. Just, you can hitch him up to a plow, right? And there's something that disdains that. It's like, wait a second. That horse saved our life. Killed the cobra. He's fast. He's a good horse. How dare you say those things about that horse, right? And then subconsciously, what's going on is we're really talking about a black man, right, being oppressed by white society, if you buy into all that. So you have the surface natural story, a boy and his horse. Then you have the subconscious reality at work on your mind without you realizing it. It comes to the surface on occasion. Like with the cards, we have too many red cards, need more black cards, things like that. But on the surface, we're allowed to hear things like, that monster has no class, no papers, just hitch him up to a plow. That's meant to evoke disdain in you, right? So you're buying in on a subconscious level to the whole race narrative. All right, then we have this quick scene. The boy's hand is bleeding, gets bandaged up, white bandage, right, on a white boy. To be redundant, but you have the white bandage, and the boy tries putting on a black glove. That's not an accident, right? That's, again, the boy conforming to the black. Again, just little things here and there, right? It's not a succinct, scientific, precise story allegory. It's just things are dropped in here and there. And that's part of the reason I didn't write a script for this, just talking about it, because it's not very precise. It's just there. And then we have this whole conversation to prep us for grabbing the hold of that long black mane, like the father said about Bucephalus at the beginning. And Henry's coaching the boy about strengthening his grip, right? And then that just gives us the logic to work with, to have the boy gripping the mane, to grip the nappy mane, right? Because the texture of a horse mane is coarse, similar to a black man's hair, right? It's coarse or it's nappy, as they say in the movie. But the boy is going to grip that, and so we're being given an introduction to that idea with the strengthening of the grip, right? Again, the boy is coming up to the level of the black man, to conform to the black man, to hold on to that black mane so tightly that Henry's going to have to cut it off with a knife and liberate the boy, just like the boy had cut the ropes off the horse at the beginning. And then you have this absurd comment. Someone says to the horse, well, whoever you are. All right, yeah, that was just mean. So that's supposed to evoke your sympathy. It works. All right, now we come to the scene that I referenced earlier. We have the boy brushing the mane of the horse, and the black man sitting there, right? The horse is staring out into the rain, all downcast. The black man is staring out into the rain, all downcast. Right, they're two in one, right? That's parallel to an allegory. And the boy is pointing this out with his questions. And the boy, of course, enters into this himself. And perhaps, I would say he already has entered into this mindset of the black, being downcast, looking out into the rain, writing your blues music, right? And the black man tells the boy here, let that horse be wild, right? Let the horse stay wild. It's his soul. And then the boy says, we're going to show everyone that he's the fastest horse in the world, that the black is the fastest horse. Because, of course, everyone in the world believes that black horses can't be fast. And of course, that's absurd unless you recognize the hypothesis, the thesis of what's going on in this movie, that it's a racial commentary. So we're going to show the whole world that the black is the fastest in the world, that the black is the best, the most virtuous, over against all those white people with their suspicions and their unwarranted hatreds, right? Then we have more rain at the track, right? More despondency, more occasion to have soul. And then we come to I guess you'd call this the qualifying race. In the dead of night, it's raining. And then you have the men pull up in their cars, their fancy cars. And again, this is the third time we've seen this. The boat, the suspicion, seeing it from beneath. And the man in the barn, Henry, we hear him coming before we see him, suspicion. And now we see these men inside their cars, but all we see is their headlights. And of course, we view them with suspicion because they're evil men, because they come out to time a horse to see how fast he is, right? To criticize him, to critique him, to see if he's good enough for the race without those papers, right? So these are evil men, and we suspect them because we can't really see them behind those headlights. And then here you have another contrast in color. Earlier on, we had the boy with his shirt off to contrast his white skin starkly against the black horse. And here we have this man wearing white, snow white pants against the black colored mud, which apparently he's a rich man. He's too good to be standing in that black mud, right? Which makes sense if we weren't talking about black and white here. But we are, so there's a deeper sense to that. Again, we're talking about race here. We're not talking about a horse. So, of course, the white men are safe and dry in their cars, aside from the little bit of black mud on the white pants. And the boys out there braving the rain with the black stallion, the black man, if you will. All right, so they come back from the race. The boys, again, I've referenced this a couple times already, the boys clinching the nappy mane of the black, and so much so that he won't let go. He and the horse are one. He and the black are one now. And so they cut the mane loose from the horse, and now the mane is part of the boy, right? It's locked in his grip. And then you have a passing comment, where did you get that animal? Where'd you get this animal, right? So earlier on, you say, well, whoever you are, and now you have, where did you get this animal, right? It's just, and of course we feel disdain because we know it's a good horse, right? But your subconscious is saying, not the horse, but you're saying, oh, he's a good man. He's a good black man, right? And you're basing that upon watching this movie, which is altering your subconscious. So your judgment of race has nothing to do with the deeds or integrity of people. It now has more to do with this prejudice that has been implanted in you on a subconscious level to view black men in a positive light, whether they have proved themselves or not, because they've already proved themselves in this movie, because black horses are fast and virtuous. And then you have the man says to the boy, you hung on like a champ. And the boy says, where's the black? And yeah, they've ceased a long time of calling him a black horse or the black stallion. The black, in case you missed the point. So where's the black? He's over there in the van with Nappy. So the black man is over there with the white mother, the white woman in the van, right? So the pairing of the black and the white together, that's where they're at, child. That's where they're at. Where's the black? Over there in the van with Nappy. Okay, so we see that kind of the bluesy, soulish, depressed look in the boy's eyes, right? Just like the black man, who's oppressed by society. All right, and then Henry coaches the boy a little more, tells him a story about the Iceman. Just steady him, right? Just steady the horse. You don't tell him what to do. You let the horse go, and you just steady him, right? So you conform to the horse doesn't conform to you. Or the black does not conform to you. You conform to the black. That's the point. All right, now we move to the white mother, to the mother. The boy wants to ride the horse in the race, but apparently he needs his mother's permission to do it. So he tries to coax her, right? He asks her, is there anything you want me to do? Right, you want me to help you clean the house or something like that? And the mother knows something is up, right? So she suggests these other chores in addition to what he's offering to do, right? Because she knows that he wants something. But what he wants, she's reading about the mystery horse, right? This mystery race is coming up. And the boy breaks the news to her and says that the black is the mystery horse. And we know the mother is prejudiced, is racist, because she doesn't believe that the black would be worthy enough or good enough to be in this race. So yeah, on the surface we're talking about a horse, but we already know we're talking about a racial question here, right? So the mother doesn't believe that the black can be this horse that's going to race in this world race, apparently, right? So the mother is racist, and we've got to fix that in her. And so she tells her son, you could get killed in that race. It's dangerous, right? And then she says to Henry, what are you filling his head with? Right, so you have this idea, if you think back to 1979 in America, people were more apprehensive about racial exchanges than they are now, right? So it's dangerous, he could get killed. And then she says to Henry, what are you filling his head with, right? So these are all racial questions, right? So apparently, it's safe. He's not going to get killed, right? We haven't seen the end of the movie yet, but we can guess that he's not going to get killed. It's not that kind of movie. So it's safe. It's not dangerous. The mother is just blinded by her racial prejudice, right? That's why she doesn't want to let her son ride the black stallion in this race. So also during this conversation, it's interesting that while the mother is talking, we see a little model of a black horse propped standing up behind her. And there's actually two, so that in either angle that they shoot the mother at, there's a black horse facing her. And this, of course, is going to draw your mind back to that initial race where the black was subdued by chasing the white. And so in this scene with the mother talking to her boy, we have the black, if you will, pursuing the white, being subdued by the white, if you will. And then after the boy gives this long emotional rehash about him being saved by this great virtuous horse, this black, the mother says yes, right? So she consents to the race. And then on the train ride, we have more rain, more wind, more rain, more lightning, more oppression. And then when we get to the track, we see the other men getting ready for the race. And the one thing that they zoom in on is the man holding a whip, or I'm not sure what the proper name of it is, but he's using a masculine tool to drive his horse. So of course he's a bad man because he's behaving this way, right? Because we know that only foreigners with turbans wrapped around their heads use things like whips and ropes, right? So this man is using a masculine means to drive his horse. This man is evil, right? The boy is good because he doesn't use such things. He approaches it. He conforms to the horse. He doesn't make the horse conform to him. All right, so the boy is wearing a mask. Now, for the sake of the storyline, it's just to conceal the fact that he's a child, and apparently children can't compete in these sort of races, so they're going to just pass him off as a really short man. So he's wearing this mask to hide that. But that also plays into the narrative of not knowing someone, right? The suspicion, right? The three scenes that we've already seen with the boat, the barn, the hole in the barn floor, and then the men in their cars behind the headlights. You can't see them, and so there's suspicion, right? But we know who the boy is. But these other people don't know because he's wearing a mask. So we vouch for him. We know he's good, right? So we're not prejudiced anymore because we know the true hearts of people. We know this boy. Now as the race unfolds and the black gains on the white to pass and to win, the boy takes his mask off. So the prejudice is gone. People see that the black is actually good because he's going to win the race. And then there's an uproar of cheering. But until we get there, there's suspicion against the boy, right? Because people are just hateful. But we know better. We know that the boy is virtuous, like his horse. So right before the race, you have three horses, right? They have the brown horse, then you have the gray or the white. So the brown, the white, and the black. And the brown horse attacks the black, which is pretty typical. Brown horses usually attack black horses as a rule. The black starts bleeding, so like the rain, he's already had to add extra weight because he's so light. Now we have the rain, now we have the bleeding. So the black is at a disadvantage again because of his position in society. Yet he's still going to win the race because he's good at heart. He's virtuous. He's a fast horse, even without his papers. And of course, as the black crosses the finish line, we have an image of the black man standing with the white horse, which, as far as the natural narrative on the surface goes, doesn't really make sense that you'd be standing with another horse there. At any rate, it's the black man standing with the black with the white, as the black beats out the white on the track. So the black man with the white woman, that's the undercurrent of this movie. And that happens vicariously through the boy discarding his masculinity to realize his full self in a feminine manner. And then we have the backflash to the beach when the boy was dancing with the horse, when the boy was conforming to the horse, gripping that long black mane, when the boy was undergoing his transformation, right? And you have the happy music, you have the icon of Bucephalus again, and everything comes full circle, and it's just a nice ending. And now you understand that black men are not inherently bad. There's nothing to be feared in them, and you should just trust them outright because you've seen that they're good people and they're good men because of this movie. And it's wrong to hold suspicions against people unless they're white men, because then they're usually mean and suspicious of others themselves. So there you have it. Too much red. We need more black, and preferably black stallion with a white bride. Well, thanks again for listening. Let me know your thoughts. This is Ian McKay. Good night.